Okay, so welcome again. My name is Hannah Bendixson. I work for the Milwaukee Public Library in the Office of Education and Outreach Services. I get to reside in the world of Library Now. We have been doing our Library Now drop-ins all school year. So this is the last wrap-up session of the 22-23 academic year. We will be back this upcoming fall, and we do post all of this content to our Library Now YouTube channel. But nonetheless, thank you for being with us one last time in this calendar year to learn about Library Now for summer break. So as the end of the school year rapidly approaches for all of you at your various schools, we are thinking about how to welcome your students into continued opportunities for engagement and extend invitations to students via Library Now in particular. So here at MPL, we certainly love Super Reader Squad, as you can see by my shirt, but we want to talk about other ways that students can really continue to build upon the momentum that they have built in their school buildings with you as educators and with their peers, but really by that continued access to resources offered by Library Now. So we want to state upfront that Library Now resources over the summer are not meant to function in the way that interventionist resources would. This is not meant to be a substitute for a summer camp or any kind of robust academic scaffolding. However, we are really about empowering students to continue to deepen in their strengths and their skills and their interests that they've kind of seen come to light and flourish and be peaked in their time, again, with you throughout the academic school year. So we want to empower students with choice to continue to read, learn, and connect. And we want to do that in both academic and recreational, highly student-driven, interest-driven ways. So again, we'll spend about half of our time talking about some of those tools for how to leverage Library Now over the summer vacation, how to introduce this to your students and use it for yourself as educators and humans. And then we'll spend the last part of our time together answering any questions you have about that content or about anything. Victoria, my colleague Petra, will also post in the chat a survey to sign in. We'd encourage you to submit that not only because we want to know that you are here, but if you have any ideas for what content you would like to see featured in our drop-ins and on Library Now down the road, as you know your community's best. So thank you in advance for that. If it is your first time in the world of Library Now or first time returning to us in quite some time, I want to provide a brief umbrella overview of what is Library Now, though we do have a great introductory session posted on our YouTube channel. In a snapshot, Library Now is an easy to use website for students and educators to access library resources that have that academic and recreational component to them. So the website is available to your students and you as educators 24/7, and it is free. That's really integral in terms of the access component. When we designed the user experience, the interface of Library Now, it was also about getting these resources to students and educators with fewer clicks and curating resources that are going to be a great fit and complementary to the K-12 chapter specifically. And then the second key component of Library Now is access. So even though MPL, the library here, has had hundreds upon hundreds of digital resources ever since we entered into the digital epoch, we really want to make it so that students have the capacity to access digital resources, even if they have never set foot in one of our physical branch locations. So we create for students a digital library card at our Library Now partner schools for students and educators enrolled in those schools that allows students to access those resources without having a physical library card. How do we do that? You may wonder. By partnering with Library Now, our schools are providing information for us to then turn around and create digital library cards for our students using login conventions with automaticity in mind. So in creating these virtual library cards for students, we don't want to create an additional step for you as educators, helping your students keep track of an additional set of login conventions. So if you are an MPS educator, your students are going to utilize their 6 or 7 digit S number as their library card number or their username, and they will utilize their 4-digit birth year as their PIN. If you are coming to us from a different school network that has partnered with us here at MPL and with Library Now, my colleague Petra will post in the chat what the convention is for your school, or you can stick around afterwards to learn about what this looks like for your students. If you are an educator working at a Library Now school, the process is a little bit different. You opt into the process and create your own login conventions, but then your access will mirror the access of your students, which is really key when we talk about how you can benefit from some of these resources for personal enrichment and professional development as well. So super broad brushstrokes, but without further ado, we're going to dive in and talk about LibraryNow resources for the summer. So if you're a frequent flyer, you'll certainly recognize some of these names, but OverDrive and Hoopla are two of our digital collections, and we really care about empowering students with choice. And that choice is not only in terms of content and content that is interest-driven and relevant to students, but also in terms of the format. So we're going to take the lens of how to use OverDrive and Hoopla to really meet students where they are in the curation of also magazines and comics and graphic novels and read alouds, a lot of points and formats for students this summer. We'll also talk about Kanopy for educators, which is our Netflix, if you will, our movie database, but as well as how you can utilize Kanopy to access unlimited great courses. And then Gale Courses similarly is for older students, so our teenagers, potentially middle school, high school, and then certainly educators as well to access your own professional development, lifestyle, personal enrichment, hobby building resources too. We try to do a combination of hotel in our drop-ins. So quick overview before we toggle over to LibraryNow and I show you how to access these. But we'll talk about OverDrive magazines first. OverDrive, again, is one of our digital collections. And we really care about making sure that students have access to culturally relevant and engaging materials, also materials written by teens for teens, by peers for peers. We have advice columns, personal essays, again, comics across all different kinds of subject areas. So we'll take a look at that. We'll look at Hoopla, comics, how students can search by publishers, by browsable collections and whatnot. And then we'll also end by looking at Kanopy, great courses, and Gale courses for personal development. Without further ado, we will head to LibraryNow. So if it is your first time with us, you get to LibraryNow by searching librarynow.org. This is your homepage. Think of it like a Roku box. Depending on the age of your students, and certainly you as educators, you will select the corresponding category, and then you will see the content unfold in these compartments that help you understand what you're getting. You can see little eye bubbles that help you know what you're getting when you click each resource. And we are going to start with OverDrive and OverDrive magazines. I've already logged into OverDrive Kids, so you can see what the functionalities look like here. First and foremost, you can see under collections all that your students can access. It's worth noting that OverDrive, again, has both kids, teens, and adult functionality. It functions very much like Netflix, how you can toggle between kids and adults. So this has the kid filter turned on. That is how you know that your students are able to get magazines that are kid age appropriate and whatnot, read-alongs, picture books for kids, et cetera, et cetera. So first and foremost, we love our read-along and picture books. It's always a joy when students are able to have someone read to them and they have physical books. We always welcome students and families coming into our branch locations, but it's really exciting to be able to expand students' world and access by giving them picture books digitally as well. So when it comes to OverDrive, students have 10 checkouts a month, and we do also have read-alongs. So these books are accompanied by audio tracks that are reading to your students. So for students that have devices at home, this is a great way, again, to access more content, and you can see the great variety. You can see which are available and whatnot. I also always go immediately to the advanced search because it gives you a true sense of how versatile the materials are on OverDrive and Hoopla. And I am highlighting today the formats. So you can see not only our traditional ebooks, audiobooks, Kindle, but the read-alongs that will connect it to the audio, PDF ebooks you can download, and then OverDrive audiobooks, MP3 audiobooks, and magazines. So I want to show you magazines today so you can get a sense of these browsable collections. Once again, this is for kids. You can remove the juvenile feature to get teen content. You can see all of the categories on the side here: comics, manga, science, technology, gaming, culture, literature, travel, outdoor crafts. Really, there's no end to the types of magazines that you can get. And once again, on OverDrive, you were able to get 10 checkouts a month. This serves for you as educators as well. Next up, and very similarly, Hoopla. Hoopla can be found on kids, teens, and educator tabs. It also has quite a lot by way of browsable content, ebooks, audiobooks. You can see up here in the browse that Hoopla also has movies, music, and television, which is kind of an additional value proposition above and beyond OverDrive. OverDrive has 10 checkouts a month. Hoopla has only 4. So we typically say if your student is going after an ebook, audiobook, magazine, they can always check OverDrive first. And if they don't see anything, the text that they're looking for or something that piques their interest, come on over to Hoopla. So I'll start with looking at Hoopla comics so you can get a sense of what these options look like and variety looks like for your students. Each of these count as one checkout. You can search by genres and collections, featured comics. Hoopla is much more akin to Netflix in that there are visiting featured collections. So students can stay up to date with new content. They can see recommended content by their browsable histories, recent, as well as by publishers. So if students are feeling like they are staunchly DC versus staunchly Marvel, they can filter by that and really fall in love with one or the other or both. So that is an amazing offering of Hoopla. And coming to you live, I'm starting to use this term called Hoopla hack. This is an amazing one for you to use personally and certainly for your students to use. Because Hoopla has only 4 checkouts a month, that understandably causes a certain degree of desire and a sense of, oh, how can I get more of this amazing content? So Hoopla offers something called a binge pass. So when you check out a binge pass, you have unlimited access to one of these collections for 7 days. The binge pass counts as one checkout. So if you're doing the math, if you get 4 binge passes, that will be 4 checkouts for 4 weeks, and then your access will be, your checkouts will be replenished come the next month. So it's a great kind of workaround if your student or you are feeling drawn to any of these collections, and they're not going to have to check something out again and again and then use up those checkups. They could binge, they could rewatch, they could show it to someone else and watch it another time. Notably, you can see there's a lot in here, the magazine collection, some bilingual materials, a lot of subject-specific content, learning about the world, some read-alongs. So you can get more than 4 read-alongs if you check out the read-along binge pass. Also, I've always been a fan of great courses. So your older students and then you as humans can check out a week-long great courses video library collection that would allow you to truly binge in that regard as well and learn a lot. Moving on next to an educator-specific resource that is available under the Educator tab. Introducing Kanopy. Kanopy is amazing, not only for, again, your personal love of film and cinema, but also potentially for building out content for your classes come next fall. Don't know if it's too early to talk about next fall, but there's so much that you can browse here as well. So certainly a searchable collection, but I love to highlight that there are short films, silent films, documentaries, instructional materials. You can see lots of content and identity-based categories. There's world cinema, a huge array of international film. And I'd also like to highlight that if you search the great courses, I'm going real hard for the great courses this go around, but Kanopy does have some content that is all access. So Kanopy, like Hoopla and OverDrive, has a limit to the number of checkouts you have in a given month, but great courses, as we saw in Hoopla, you can get an unlimited number of streams. So there's no limit to the degree to which you can use great courses. So while your students are able to access great courses via that Hoopla binge pass, you as educators can watch great courses as humans, as individuals looking to develop out in hobbies and interests, in leisure and in learning, but then simultaneously, you can know that great courses will be an unlimited number of streams for you to use in the classroom come fall to introduce this content live time in the classroom to your students. Moving on in the realm of personal enrichment and professional development, Gale Courses is a resource that is available on both the LibraryNow Teens tab and the Educator tab. Again, mostly for high school students and older, but potentially also for middle schoolers that really want to hit the ground running and enroll in ongoing webinars. So webinars are typically 24 hours worth of content across 4 to 6 sessions. So it's a way to really dive in their live time courses, they will repeat. So if you miss one, you'll be able to enroll in another. You can see by the browsable catalog here, the biggest categories that you can find. So what I love about this is this also allows for profound deepening. So maybe you have a surface level knowledge of Microsoft Office Suite, but you're interested in learning more about computer applications and learning some new tools and gadgets. Same goes for technology, or if you're interested in publishing or publishing for academia or grant writing, you can access the writing and publishing section. You can see that there are some available here for teaching and education if that's of interest to you. I also love the personal development category. You can see personal enrichment. There's so many different ways to define personal enrichment, but we have everything here from genealogy, writing your life story, sign language, grammar, interior design. I think there's a lot of content on here about cooking and gardening and whatnot too. So there's so much that you can browse and see what is a good fit for you at this point in your life, or if you have a high schooler or middle schooler that you think would take the initiative to sign up for webinars like this, this is certainly available to you as well. I'm going to toggle back to my presentation for just a moment. And again, all of these are available 24/7 and for free to you and your students. So at this point, we just want to say that we are tip of the iceberg, people. These are a few of many ways that your students can engage with LibraryNow and free 24/7 library resources over the summer. There are many more. We've got free tutoring. We've got language learning apps. We've of course got more academic resources, primary and secondary sources for any students doing research of any kind. But we really hope this will be kind of that jumping off point for your students once they have access to LibraryNow as early as first grade through 12th grade. They will have continual access to these resources. So we don't want there to be a stop just because the academic year has come and gone. We want you as educators to be able to utilize these resources in the classroom, but then empower your students to know that these resources are not getting turned off and they have continual access to both academic and recreational outlets for deepening and engaging in their own learning in leisurely styles. At this point, we are going to stop the recording. We've got a few additional invitations for you, but we'll pause also while we stop the recording to see if there are any questions about what we have covered.